for Salesforce, but for lots of other companies operating throughout the world today. We have a great discussion. I'm thrilled to have Dr. Renu here with us, Chancellor of the University of Huston System and President of the University of Houston. Before we get into our discussion, I just want to highlight a few statistics for us all. There was a recent IDC report that showed that 9.3 million Salesforce jobs globally are going to be needed by 2026. That's a lot of new jobs. And out of that, 1.9 million of those jobs will be in India. So that's just Salesforce. And we also recently commissioned a study with RAND Europe, and it shows that the digital skills gap is actually hitting quite an inflection point. Companies are facing new challenges in this digital-first world, and there just aren't enough people with the right skills for these companies to power their transformation now and in the future. And if we look at this digital skills gap, it comes at a cost. 14 out of the G20 countries could miss out on 11.5 trillion cumulative GDP growth if we don't take action and try to solve this problem. Now at Salesforce, I'm pleased that we're doing our bit with Trialhead, our free learning platform, and Trialhead Academy, our education services. We're helping everyone and anyone learn the skills of the future, earn resume-worthy credentials, connect with others in our Trailblazer community, and help them create pathways to successful jobs in the Salesforce platform. In fact, our Salesforce India team, we've created a skilling program that we internally refer to it as the One India Talent Program to help students, the unemployed, working professionals, and people from diverse backgrounds learn these skills. We hope to help them upskill and cross-skill so that they can have their chance in these Salesforce jobs in India. In connection with that, we've also signed an MOU with the ITES Sector Skill Council under NASCO, and we've pledged to skill 100,000 people by 2024. And we separately signed another MOU with the National Skills Development Corporation for another skilling initiative. With the Future Skill Prime portal, we have made accessible our developer content so that anyone can skill up and become a Salesforce developer. We are working with over 300 colleges, and so far in 2021, we've already had 20,000 students sign up and embrace this program. We're working across many states in India, and we look forward to expanding our reach to skill up Indians everywhere. But with that context from a business perspective and a demand perspective, I am thrilled to introduce today our speaker. She is a formidable icon, Dr. Renu, as I mentioned, Chancellor, University of Houston System, and President of the University of Houston. She is the first foreign-born president of the university and only the second woman to have ever held this position. Dr. Couture is also the first Indian American to lead a major research university in the United States. Prior to moving here, Dr. Couture earned her bachelor's degree in India from the Kanpur University in liberal arts. Soon afterwards, she received her master's and her PhD in political science and political administration from Purdue University. She has received many awards over the length of her career. She was inducted into the Texas Women's Hall of Fame and has received several awards for her academic leadership as well. In fact, she was awarded the Pravisi Bharatiya Sanman from the President of India, which is the highest honor that can be awarded to an overseas Indian. Thank you, Dr. Couture, for joining us here today. So I'd like to start with maybe a bit of a personal question. There are a lot of young women there in India and in Texas who see you as a role model, particularly those who are interested in education. Now, I'm curious if you could share a little bit about your journey to such a prestigious role in such a prestigious university system, and also any advice you might have for them as they're starting their path.
Well, Amy, that's a pretty intense, loaded question. Uh, I feel I'm very blessed to be where I am. I was born in Uttar Pradesh, in Farrukhabad, and very proud of my heritage, my culture, and my journey. I never thought I would be in the United States, and definitely never thought I would be holding this position, which I'm in this position now for 14 years. However, life has its own interesting turns and twists. So I got all my education from Hindi medium schools and Hindi medium college in Farrukhabad, all girls college as well. And I finished my bachelor's degree when I was 17 years old. And at that point in time, it was time to leave my town, Farrukhabad, and I went to Allahabad University to do my master's. But then in 9 months, my father arranged my marriage to someone who was studying in the United States. So, the same day I found out that my arranged marriage was being arranged in a way. The same day we were engaged, and in 10 days we were married. In another 10 days, I was here in the United States of America in West Lafayette, Indiana at Purdue University, because that's where my husband was doing his PhD. The only problem was that I had a dream, a very strong dream, and the dream was that I wanted education. Just because I just loved books, I loved studying. It had nothing to do with my wanting a career. I didn't even think that would be possible because I just didn't see anybody in my community, in my caste, in my family working, and a woman working. So I didn't even think that was possible, but I wanted to do it just because I enjoyed it so much. So I asked my husband that I wanted to attend the university. The major problem was I didn't know English. And so he took me to Purdue University graduate office, and there he translated while I talked about, pleaded to the graduate advisor that I have done my bachelor's and I wanted my master's. And he said, but you're only 18 years old. And I said, no, but I've finished my degree and I need to go for master's program. I don't know whatever happened, but he thought I was so stubborn that I would not go to his office. So he decided, he said, okay, I have, this is the best I can do for you. No promise of admission, no even promise. But I'll let you sit in 2 classes. And we'll see what happens, because he was absolutely certain that I would, just wither away. I would fade away from there. However, I just needed a little window open, and I would tell you that I taught myself English. I had grammar, of course. We all had to learn grammar in India, but in Farrukhabad, I didn't have exposure to English at that time. So I watched 8 hours of television a day. I Love Lucy was my show that I could follow. Dick Van Dyke and some of these old shows, slapstick comedy. However, by the end of the semester, I had both A's, and I had highest marks, but I can tell you how difficult that semester was. I wrote 8 drafts of every paper that I had to do, and we had to do paper every week because it was a graduate class with 15 students. I mean, I just don't even know if I was breathing, sleeping, eating, or what. But at the end of the day, I did get my remarks, my marks in my paper, and the committee sat and said, what do we do with her now? She has already proven, so they gave me admission. And here I was, 19 years old, now studying master's at Purdue University in political science, another year, and I finished my master's. And as I say many times, the rest is history. So life gives you turns and twists. Then I went to, of course, I did PhD, and then my husband and I, we both took a job at the University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida. And there, they gave me a job because they wanted my husband so bad. He's a fellow in engineering, and they gave me a 9-month job. So that's where I started. However, from there, every 2 years, I got a promotion, whether it was academic or whether it was administrative. But 10 years, I did all of my professorship, assistant professor, associate, full professor. And then I was asked if I was interested in leading the faculty senate, and I did that. And from there, I got in administration. Then I was a department head, dean, the provost, senior vice president, and then I came to Houston as the president and chancellor. In 150 years of Texas's history, they've never had a woman chancellor. So it was a good test. However, against the normal tenure of 5 to 6 years for research university presidents, now I am in my 14th year finishing that. So I think Houston and Texas suits me, and I think I love what I do here, the environment here, the people here. In 14 years, this university is at a very different place. It was not on any national list, and now it's a tier 1 institution with Phi Beta Kappa, with all of the accolades, incredible social mobility. And Amy, you talked about upskilling. We are here in the energy capital of the world, and as things are changing from energy, just the oil and gas, to really energy transition, our challenge here is how do we keep Houston and the workforce globally competitive in the field of energy creation, innovation, but transitions, first of all. And there have been so many job losses. So our one challenge has been how do we give a different skill or upskill people, those who have actually been out of the market, but also those who are coming in. So we had to completely revise our curriculum in that sense. And we started offering something actually quite interesting, which is not even a full course, full degrees, not even full certificate. We decided we would start offering what we call badges or micro-credentialing. And those are 15 credit hours, because many times people who've lost jobs have been out of the academic setting for 20 years or so, just feel overwhelmed going back into the academy to join a degree program or something. So we have 15 credit hour badges or micro credentials that are stackable, and they are all in these very cutting edge fields. You have in cybersecurity, data analytics, and things of that nature, where you do 15 credit hours, and most of the time people will immediately start the second badge, and once you do 3 badges, you get a belt, which is like a course, and you can just keep on stacking them in different areas, and that way you can earn your certificate, earn your degree, and get into the workforce, in the new workforce. So we are constantly very conscious about that. There are many other things we are doing, because Amy, if you know, the University of Houston is really not a university where where people come thinking they're entitled to education. I mean, a lot of students who come to us really think that they cannot do college. A lot of them are at risk. I mean, we have students from every race and every religion, and of course 143 countries. We like to give opportunities. We like to make sure that they can get back and be a very productive member of the society. So we are very highly ranked in social mobility ranking. So it's quite one thing to have your degree, and if you're coming from a very privileged and entitled family with all the resources, and then you get your degree and you're successful, well, that's one story. But it's quite another story when you're coming from a family where that has not necessarily been trajectory, and now you get your degree and you're transforming not just yourself, but the entire generation. I mean, the social impact, the distance between what a student brings to us and what a student leaves is what is called the social mobility, how we make you move up in the social rankings. And the University of Houston ranks extremely high, the highest definitely in Texas. And I believe the last ranking we had was 39th in the country. So
Wow.
we take a lot of pride in that,
Yeah.
and in what we do here. And that's what makes me very happy, because Amy, I always remind myself that I got chances, I had people who mentored me, who helped me, who opened windows for me. And now it's my time and my obligation to open windows and doors for others, be part of their journey of life, help them realize their dreams. So that's what makes me happy.
It's so inspiring to hear your story, and we are very like-minded in the fact that education can be such a social mobility asset to an individual. And I just love hearing your story of flexibility, curiosity, tenacity, all of that you brought to growing your career. And you did speak about your time in the India university system. I'm curious if there's lessons learned from Houston that you would sort of recommend, or might see a pathway as India opens and expands their higher education sector.
So Amy, I've been involved in a very, of course, very different level, but have been involved in India's education policy for quite some time. I was in Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's, advisory council, and then now I have been part of the effort by Prime Minister Modi to uh, to bring 20 institutions in India, public and private, into world-class category. So this is the Institutes of Eminence, and I have been part of selecting those institutions and helping them guide for last 3+ years. I was extremely pleased to see India's new national education policy. I think all of the right moves there, everything from upskilling outside of college, because college is not necessarily for everybody. We have the system of community colleges in the United States where 2 years degree can really get you a very safe and secure job. However, I do believe that people should dream big always. People should dream about not just getting in the workforce, but leading the workforce. And therefore, I think everybody should have opportunities. And then you decide whatever your pathway is. And I think, so I see India's national education policy. There are aspirations to be world-class universities. There is aspirations to have enough workforce, not just to lead the future of India, but also to provide global leadership. I think it has all of the great features. Now the question is about its implementation. And I think a couple of things that I have found to be very important here in this system, I would love to see it in India, and I've always been saying one of them is private sector, really, private individuals, foundations coming and helping build great institutions. If you take the story of University of Houston, we've just finished a campaign to raise funds for the university, and we have raised 1.24 billion with a B for the university. Now, that kind of generosity and that kind of partnership, I think, would do wonders in India. There are people who are extremely wealthy. They've got capabilities, and I think many times they have a different pathway, which may be good too, where they start their own universities. However, if the partnership becomes with existing public universities, like I've seen at the University of Houston, private individuals trusting the public university and joining hands to build something really spectacular. And I think that would be really fantastic. That's one thing. And second, I would say, is which is happening now with the national education policy, which is education is not necessarily that it's a one-time shot. It should be any time in life. You should be able to come back and enter the system and upskill, yourself, or get another degree. I mean, we just had a student graduate, 86 years old, and we had at the same time we had a student who graduated at 16. You should have a university should be flexible enough. The system should be flexible enough to offer opportunities to people with all kinds of abilities, allowing them to have dreams about education, about their life, about making it better. I think that's what education is about. It's not about textbooks. It's about getting the skills that get you gratification in life, where you can earn your living, but you can also help others by either opening jobs because you're an entrepreneur, or by being CEO because you running a mega corporation with thousands of jobs, or you can have your own business, small or big, where you are giving people jobs. I think all of these things are part of our life's trajectory.
I love the focus on the partnerships between governments and universities, between private sector company and universities, and private sector companies and governments. I think we're all in this together, and I think we've learned over time that we also need to build in that flexibility. So I loved what you said about people being able to re-enter the system. Like your micro credentials, people can earn badges on Trailhead and scale them up and stack them, as you say, to really having a proficiency for a job out there. But Salesforce releases software 3 times a year. So you kind of always need to be upskilling and reskilling yourself. So I love that idea of building in flexibility. If we move our focus away from the kind of classical higher education and focus more on that vocational and adult education, professional sort of training, how do you think about those different types and how they work together? And of course, how do you think about engaging different sets of people? What would be your recommendations there?
So even though I've spent my life in formal higher education in a university, I'm a strong believer in diversity of educational opportunities. So there are basically 3 different types. So one thing is certain, that high school degrees no longer enough actually. You need to have something beyond high school, whether it is through any kind of skilling program, just because the economy is getting so digital, so global, and so technical that we just need, we need to be putting that dream and that desire in people in elementary and middle schools, that your path is that you need to have a skill that is employable, or an innovation in you. Even if you start with the workforce, it doesn't matter. You gotta have that entrepreneurial and innovation thing, and we have to expose them to it. So there are 3 different ways. There are the vocational programs, and I'm a big believer in those. And then there are those community college or 2-year college degree program. They do a tremendous job. And then there is, of course, the traditional higher education, but even traditional higher education has to find ways to open up now with the online and this whole COVID lesson and the reach, and also allowing students to really be part of the economy. I always believe very strongly, and maybe that's because I'm in Houston, where we have 6 million people living here. It's for India as a standard, it's not much, but it is. The city of Houston is larger than 37 states in the United States. So we look at it regionally, and we have very strong economy in energy, but of course the medicine. I mean, Texas Medical Center in Houston is one of the largest facility. And now with COVID, we realize, that we have to think about value-based medicine. How do we take care of people's chronic conditions? And how do we take care of equity issues in health? So what if you have the world's best medical center, but if you have people who don't even have access to healthcare, well, there is something missing. And we have always thought that our job as the university is to be the engine of the regional economy. We, of course, always have here NASA, which is a great aerospace industry, one of the largest ports in the country. and we have one of the finest arts economy. So we have to take a very comprehensive look at it. And the entire university's entire plan is based on how is it that we build on regional um, regional essays or regional strengths. And so those are the pillars for our plan. And we look at it three ways, Amy. One is we look at it thinking about education, and that's where we engage the vocational institutes and the community college. We have a very strong partnership with community colleges, so that those students who want to go there, great. But we also make sure that they have a pathway that if they wanted to go further up, that they don't lose their time and credentialings that they are earning in community college. They can bring them seamlessly to the university. And so education is a very important part, but it has to be relevant, it has to be based, and foundation has to be where you can be a risk taker. You can think about doing things beyond the traditional boundaries. But then second thing is about the new things, the research, because the knowledge is constantly evolving. And how do we get people excited about doing research? So we have programs here with high schools, with even middle schools, where we start to expose them to these possibilities of discoveries, because that's what gives people their curiosity. But then the third part, which is very important, is very quickly, what is it that we are doing with the community? Are we serving the community? Are we making community better? Are we adding to the community? But at the same time, all of our research, what do we do with that research? Does that stay on the shelf, or do we take it to the marketplace and make it usable? There are so many projects going on here that are so exciting. If I start talking with you, I'll be probably 4 hours here. Well, we say be relevant, be relevant. And so vocational programs, as well as the skilling programs, are such an important part, because higher education cannot solve all of the problems.
I so admire how you're building pathways for people and how you're thinking about really delivering value. I'm so thankful for how you shared your own personal journey and the work that you're doing at the University of Houston. You shared many big ideas and great things for us all to consider as we work forward. And I'm really inspired for your comments and the work that you are doing and the University of Houston does to really take action at driving meaningful skill development that will fuel our economies, but also make our societies better and give people opportunity or perspective. And I certainly feel that from your perspective as well. So just thank you so much for being with us here on this discussion today. And yes, look forward to seeing what else you may do moving forward.
Well, thank you, Amy. I think your academy is doing an awesome job too. It's very, very important. And I'm glad to hear about all the partnerships in India. We have tremendous, many partnerships in India with India Oil to, of course, all kinds of educational programs. And we're constantly looking for opportunities and trying to see, because we are all part of the same global society. We are all part of the same problems we are trying to solve, whether it's in health or it's in conflict resolution or it's in energy, and we all have to work together across national boundaries to be able to solve some of these big problems. So, and India is just a huge place of excellent talent.
Excellent opportunity, yes.
And opportunities and talent, it's just mind-boggling to see everything, and I'm just so hopeful. India gives us all hope.
I agree. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Amy.